Right now, in boardrooms and executive gyms across the country, there's a quiet arms race happening, and it's being run with needles. The hottest thing in executive health this year is not a supplement, it's not a diet, it's a category of injectable compounds called peptides. You've probably heard the names whispered, or maybe even shouted, by the biohacking crowd. BPC 157, TB 500, CJC 1295, the one they call the Wolverine compound, because the internet swears it heals you like the comic book character. And the spend is staggering. I'm talking about high performers paying hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a month, injecting compounds they bought from a website they found on a podcast. Here's what almost nobody is telling them. For most of these people, that money is being poured onto a broken foundation. And there's one detail in this whole story that should stop every executive cold. The single most hyped peptide on earth, the one the biohacker world worships, was not invented in a longevity lab. It was originally isolated from human gastric juice, from the gut, the protective fluid that keeps your stomach from digesting itself. The most expensive shortcut in biohacking is, at its root, a gut compound. So let me show you what the science actually says and why the foundation has to come first. If you've been tempted by this, I want to say something first. I get it. You're a high performer. You solve problems with resources. When something's not working, you find the better tool. You pay for it and you move on. That instinct has built your career. So when someone tells you there's a compound that helps your body recover faster, of course you're interested. That's not foolish. That's how you're wired. So let me explain what a peptide actually is in plain English. Your body is constantly sending messages to itself. Repair this, build that, calm down here. Those messages are carried by tiny strings of building blocks called amino acids. When you link a short string of amino acids together, you get a peptide. Think of a peptide as a text message your body sends to give an instruction. Your body makes thousands of these messages on its own every single day for free. That's the part that gets lost in the hype. These are not alien substances. They are signals your own biology already produces when the conditions are right. So the real question, the one a strategist should ask, is not which peptide should I inject? The real question is my body even in a position to send and respond to these messages in the first place? Because the foundation underneath is cracked. You can inject all the instructions you want. The factory floor is still a mess. Let me walk you through what the research shows and where the hype and the evidence part ways. Let's start with the star of the show, BPC 157. BPC stands for Body Protection Compound. And here's the detail I mentioned at the top. According to a 2025 review of the literature on this peptide, BPC 157 is a synthetic fragment, 15 building blocks long, of a protein that researchers originally identified in human gastric juice, in your gut. The biohacker world treats this like a futuristic performance drug, but nature's version of it is part of the system that protects your own stomach lining every day. Now, why does that matter to you strategically? Because it tells you something. The body already has a protection and repair system. The interesting question is not how do I buy more of it from a website? It is mine working? And if not, why not? Here's where I have to be the honest one in the room because almost nobody in this space will be. The hype around BPC 157 is enormous. The human evidence behind it is thin. As of right now, this compound has only a handful of small human studies, no large gold standard trials. The kind of trial where you take hundreds of people, give half of them the real thing and half of them a placebo, and nobody knows who got what. That kind of trial for this compound does not really exist yet. I'm not the only one saying this. The Office for Science and Society at McGill University ran an article on BPC 157 with a title that says it all. They called it, quote, "No proof required." Their point was simple. The enthusiasm for this compound has raced miles ahead of the actual human data. In a 2026 review of therapeutic peptides in orthopedic medicine published in the JAS journal, looked at this whole family of repair and growth peptides. Their conclusion was measured and clear. There is some promise in early and animal research, but the human evidence remains limited. And in their words, further research is needed to confirm long-term safety and how well they actually work. Now hear me carefully, because this is the part that matters. I'm not telling you they're dangerous. I'm not telling you what to put in your body. That is a decision for you and your doctor. What I am telling you is that the marketing has outrun the science by a country mile. And if you're an executive who makes decisions based on data, so let's apply your own standard to your own body. Let's talk about the money, because this is where it gets sharp. The executive peptide stack, the kind being sold by the big biohacking personalities, can run you $1,000 a month or more. There are people in this audience spending $12,000 to $15,000 a year on compounds with a handful of small human studies behind them. And meanwhile, the searches for cheap gray market versions have exploded. Searches for Chinese peptides jumped roughly 300 times in a single year. You can now find these compounds on discount marketplaces for as little as $12. Think about that. The same compound sold as a premium executive protocol on one site and a $12 mystery vial on another. That is not a market built on rigor. That is a gold rush. And it just got louder on July 23rd and 24th when an FDA advisory committee voted not to move BPC 157 and several other peptides back into legal compounding status. So here is the foundation's first case. Your body's ability to repair, to recover, to send and receive these growth and protection signals depends on a small number of unglamorous things: sleep, protein, training, and a gut that actually works. The last one is my world, so let me connect it. Your gut is not just where you digest food. It is where a huge amount of your body's signaling and raw materials come from. If the lining of your gut is inflamed, if the community of bacteria living there is out of balance, if you're not actually absorbing the protein you eat, then your body's own repair system is running on a bad supply chain. You can get all the repair instructions you want. If the warehouse is empty and the floor is on fire, the instructions don't get carried out. Let me give you a real example of what a foundation first actually looks like. I worked with a client, 62 years old, been on acid blocking medication for nearly 30 years. 30 years. And nobody had ever explained to him that those medications can quietly interfere with how he breaks down and absorbs the nutrients his body needs to repair itself. He came to us mentally foggy, low energy, and frankly worried he was losing his sharpness at work. We didn't reach for an injectable shortcut. We ran the data first, and we rebuilt his foundation. We looked at what was actually happening in his gut, and we addressed it methodically. Within about a week, something happened that had not happened in